Well, I see where this is going, and I think Peter is going to help us with that. So, Peter, please take it away.
Yeah. Is it on? Yeah, it's on. Welcome to How to Get Most of Your Support Contracts. A little bit about me. I'm Peter Foppen. I'm Technical Solutions Architect at Comstor, which is a distributor of Cisco in the Netherlands. So I've experience working with Cisco partners from freelancers up all to the global gold partners in the Netherlands. I also am training instructor doing training sessions for Cisco partners. And I'm a bit of an aviation and space geek, so maybe you'll see some pictures of airplanes. Please note that I normally day-to-day work a lot with Cisco, so that's my point of view a bit. But most what I'm going to talk about can also be applied to other networking vendors. Maybe some different service level agreements, but for the most part it's the same. Okay, the basics. When you open a support case with Cisco TAC, you can choose from 4 severities. Ranging from 4 to 1. Severity 1 is a complete network shutdown. Severity 2 also. And Cisco will then engage with you 24/7 working on that case. It's also severity 1 case and 2 cases are also a little bit different in that first things first, and that's to get network traffic flowing again. So maybe do some workarounds, maybe reroute some traffic, and then do some root cause analysis. Severity 1 and 2 cases can only open by telephone, because when your house is on fire, you don't send an email to the fire department, you call them. So that's the basics. You can find it in the TAC resource guide somewhere, but nobody reads it. So, but if you're not happy with how your case is going, then you can call them and ask for the duty manager to explain, okay, this is why my case is not running well. This is my favorite. I call it the proactive support case. Sometimes you're working on some new technology. You've tested in the lab, but you're not really quite familiar with it. And you have a big important deployment over in the weekend during service window. What you can do is open a severity 4 case, so the lowest severity. And you put in all the relevant details. So serial numbers, contract numbers, the configuration you want to use, maybe a network diagram that can be useful, everything that is relevant for that case. And when you're working on the deployment and you hit any issues, you only have to call them and raise the severity to 2 or 1. But your case is already up and running, so that saves a lot of time. Often it happens that you're working on a case and then you have a complete mail thread of emails going back and forth, of have you tried this, have you tried that. Especially in some technical challenging environments, maybe it's best to ask for a Microsoft Teams or WebEx call or a Zoom call, because then you have 2 engineers, you can share your screen, you have 2 engineers watching at the same same issue, so you can speed things up, especially in communications. Please note that most support cases with Cisco TAC are not hardware related, but they have to do with configuration issues, bugs, software bugs. I don't know how to configure something, that kind of stuff. And if hardware fails, it's probably the power supply or some cabling issues of that kind of stuff. So when you buy new equipment, you have some options. You can buy a switch, and when that fails, you buy a new one. Then you maybe have some lead times, or maybe you have an old stack of switches and only one stack member fails, and then you have to replace the whole whole stack of switches because that single member is not available anymore. Then you can have, of course, buy 10 switches and then have the 11th number pre-configure it, put it on the shelf, and when one of the switches fails, you can put it off the shelves and replace it. Of course, you need to do the replacement, so during business hours that's not an issue, but out of sight of business hours could be an issue. And then we have support contracts. Please note that the first two examples only covered hardware replacement, but support contracts also mitigate the risk on configuration issues that you might have. And then, of course, we have the most expensive one, that is redundant hardware, redundant routers, redundant switches, and support contracts. With support contracts, you have, of course, several variants of service level agreements, 2-hour support, 2-hour hardware replacement for our next business day, depends on your networking vendor, also on the install location. So, like 2 hours on the island of Texel by ferry boat, that's probably not going to happen. So, yeah, it finally comes down to cost of downtime. What does it cost? Maybe you have a factory, that's 100,000 euros per day or per hour. Reputation for a bank, for example, or even human lives, if it's in a hospital, for example. And cost of downtime can also change during the week or year. For instance, if you have a large retail environment with a lot of shops, during the holiday season, Christmas season, then they will make their money, and during the rest of the week of the year, then impact is a bit less. Okay, so when do you want to have a support contract? Does every access point and access switch needs a support contract? Of course not. You can make some smart decisions on that. Access switches in hospitals, impact is high, so yeah, probably you want to have that. Opinion of your networking vendor, of course, they want to have support contracts on everything. There are also some network devices in the network, I call them smart network devices or configuration heavy. We've seen that most support cases are on support on configuration issues. So these things like wireless LAN controllers, AAA service, firewalls also have a lot of configuration. So yeah, you can use that to mitigate your configuration questions. So this is the final slide. Some personality traits of engineers. We engineers, we like to solve things. We take great pride in that. We can spend days, nights, evenings on troubleshooting things. But sometimes that can hold back the business. So maybe your colleagues or your customers of customers. So please make wise decisions on that. Just ask a colleague, open a support case, have some means to get yourself further and not keep sticking in the troubleshooting phase. So that's on my presentation. And now it's time to open up for Q&A.
Thank you very much, Peter, and I see that Teun is quite.
Yeah, hi. Not so much a question, but more as a remark. I agree with the do a call or a Zoom Mac, whatever. However, I would recommend, if the vendor doesn't do it, make a summary of it. Make sure you have written down what happened, what you discussed, what you tested, what you observed, because you can see a lot in an hour of Zoom sessions and you forget. And also you can read that back and show it to another engineer you're talking with. So I would always recommend to make notes. And some techs actually do that very well, some don't. So,
yeah,
that's one
certainly
takeaway.
Yeah.
Okay, Will, who does a contract with people who have big support contract at Cisco, and I was wondering what would you do whenever your vendor does not honor the contract you paid for. I had like a specific case recently where this customer had 5596 that were still on support contract. Those things are old as hell, and they died. And they died like within 4 months, all of them. And there were 4 devices. And that was not, well, Cisco could not provide the devices and so on. So what do you do in those cases? What's your thinking?
That's
ask the legal department to deal with that.
Good question. That's a good question. At least talk to the escalation to the duty manager. Maybe that customer has an account manager within Cisco to talk to them and escalate it in that way. Even go through higher management. If that does not work, then yeah, eventually it will become some legal issues, I guess. Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Unfortunately.
All right, looking at our online moderators, do we have any questions from IRC or Discord? All right, and thank you again very much.
Oh, sorry.
Can I question?
Oh, yeah, I'm sorry. Please go ahead.
Rinse Kloek, speaking for myself. Do you happen to know if there was a case like, for example, you had an issue with a Cisco router or something, or a Juniper, and you did a lot of debugging, spent a lot of time, and you discovered it was a bug on the Cisco Juniper side. Has it been the case that people sent an invoice to Cisco for that? For example, if you spent... yeah, I think it's reasonable. If you spent, for example, 100 hours fixing their problem, you pay them, and actually you need to pay extra hours to fix their problem. Do you know cases of that?
No. No, but I went with at least 5 times with Cisco, like 20 Cisco partners to Cisco TAC in Brussels. Mm-hmm. And we can talk to it later on during the break. But they do also have third-party vendors in the TAC lab.
Third-party vendors?
Third-party vendors, not only Cisco.
Okay.
So they can do troubleshooting with third-party vendors, like Checkpoint, Juniper, whatever.
Yeah, okay. But you don't know a case of...
No.
Okay. No. Okay, thank you.
All right, thank you again, Peter.